Show me a man that gets rich by being a politician, and I will show you a crook. That was Harry Truman back in the day. Well, now we can show you a woman, perhaps. New allegations about Ilhan Omar that we are going to get into in detail today. I want to know how it is that she's suddenly worth $30 million after being in the hole 45,000 just a few years ago. Amazing how that happens. Plus, we got to talk about Chicago. Chicago's a total disaster there, and the mayor there, Brendan Johnson, doesn't seem quite willing to do anything to help himself. Meanwhile, Benny Johnson, you know Benny, right? Oh my goodness, the New York Times is after him like you wouldn't believe. I'm like, whoa, New York Times, you must sense a threat. You know, this YouTube thing. We YouTubers are pretty darn scary, right? Welcome to the program, everyone. I am Trish Regan. Good to have you here. We are live. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, do all that. Every little bit counts. We are inching our way slowly but surely. It feels like it's taking forever right now towards 1 million subs. All thanks to you guys. Thank you. We begin today on Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar, you wonder how suddenly she's worth $30 million. I'm wondering how she's worth suddenly $30 million. That's kind of amazing. So she actually has gone from a pauper that was in the hole, negative 45,000 back in 2019, to suddenly being worth miraculously $30 million. I mean, good work if you can get it. Wow. So how did this happen? Well, first of all, we know about it in part because of the new filing that she just released. Let me share with you. It includes a 3,500% increase in wealth. I mean, this is the New York Post that did a big thing on it. Washington Times has something on it as well. So like 2 years ago, her husband's business was worth like $1,000, and now suddenly it's worth $30 million. They got a wine business, and they got, wait for it, some kind of venture capital business that has to do with regulation and legislation and operates in like 80 countries. I mean, like, is your antenna going up? Because my antenna's going up. My antenna's going up big time. You know, we haven't heard a lot from her lately, which is kind of surprising. It's like, where has she been? I mean, she's allowing AOC to dominate the news cycle. She's allowing Jasmine Crockett, of all people, to dominate the news cycle. She's allowing Gavin Newsom. I mean, there's been like a whole cast of characters out there, but where has Ilhan been? Where's the whole squad been? Barely making money, you know. Someone's got to pay the bills. Anyway, this is amazing. So, front page of the New York Post today, Representative Ilhan Omar's net worth skyrockets to as much as $30 million months after denying that she was a millionaire. So, not too long ago, she did an interview, I believe it was with Business Insider, in which she said, no, nothing to see here. I'm not worth anything. I'm just a mom who's like still paying off student loans, etc. But here's the disclosure report. I realize it's a little bit blurry. I'm going to have to lean in a little bit alongside you. But basically, it's the husband's company. It's the husband's company, this Rose Lake Capital. What is it with Rose? Didn't they have like Rosemont Seneca over in the Biden family? Rose Lake Capital is worth some $30 million apparently. Well, between that and the winery. So this is a big increase. So here's the hubby, okay? He's the reason for it all. Here's the hubby, Tim Wyatt. You can see a picture of them if you're watching here live on YouTube. Great to have you here. Same with Rumble. On Spotify. We have the video now on Spotify. It's a big deal. So make sure you subscribe to it's free Spotify show. But the New York Post writes squad goals, and they put squad with a money sign for the S. It's pretty shocking. This disclosure, I think, is catching everybody off guard, because Tim Minett is his name. He's experiencing a roughly 3,500% increase in the value of his Rose Capital partners. How does that happen? I know a lot of smart people on Wall Street. By the way, I have 76 Research, 76research.com. Use code word dollar. And we've had enormous gains in the last year in a lot of our stocks. You're talking up 80 some odd percent in some of them, but we're not talking 3,500%. I mean, that's like hard, okay? Actually, it's impossible to do. It's impossible to do. There's very smart people that devote their lives to this, and they're not pulling off what somehow Ilhan Omar's hubby is able to do. So I don't get it. I mean, how do you have Timmy, this is the Tim you want to know. Timmy boy. There's so many Tims, right? Tim Kaine, Tim from her state. Tampon Tim. And now her husband, Tim. I mean, lots and lots and lots of Timmys out there, but this is the Timmy that's raking in the big bucks. And I'm just going to say it, okay? Because nobody else will really want to say it. But you've got to ask yourself, Unc Andy, I see your comment. Is it her husband or is it her brother? That's funny. This one actually is, because they don't really look alike, do they? This really is her husband. How do you do that? I mean, I got questions. Like maybe he should be giving a seminar. Maybe he should be teaching at Harvard Business School. I mean, if you can get a 3,500% return in, 2 years or less, I think we ought to pay attention. We ought to listen up. I suspect that this is not quite as it seems, shall we say. Okay, this is the hubby. This is the hubby, all right? They're little lovebirds that they are. She's liking him right now. Honey, you took me from negative $45,000 to $30 million, but I can't tell anybody that I'm actually worth $30 million because, oh gosh, what will my peeps say then? What would they say? I mean, by the way, I'm running a winery. I'm of Muslim faith, but I'm running a winery, which is now valued at between $1 and $5 million in the latest disclosure. I mean, by comparison, it is pointed out that it used to be worth between $15,000 and $50,000 in Ilhan Omar's previous financial disclosure. So again, I got to say, I'm pretty impressed. I mean, Mr. Minette, Timmy, you're the bomb. You're clearly the bomb because you got this VC firm headquartered in Washington, D.C., specializing in what? Infrastructure. And you've made quite a bit. Okay, Rose Lake Capital, that's the name of it. Rose Lake Capital's assets, they were valued at somewhere between $5 and $25 million at the end of 2024. The company had less than $1,000 in assets the previous year. Notably, from the venture capital firm is listed, it's listed income as none. Okay, so it used to have no income, and now it's suddenly like raking it in. In 2024, it had no income. $15,000 to $50,000 the previous year. And now it claims to have what? $50 billion in assets under management, according to the website. I mean, I guess, you know what? If you want to make nice with Ilhan, maybe you need to have assets under management from Rose Lake. Is this like a referral business? I do you a favor, you do me a favor? Get a load of this. Okay, let me read this to you. The company, Rose Lake, the hubby's firm, that's now worth $30 million, touts its, quote, deep global networks built from on-the-ground work in more than 80 countries, working across business, politics, banking, and diplomacy. I mean, this is like CGI all over again. I mean, who needs a Clinton Global Initiative? You got Ilhan Omar and Timmy out there doing their thing with Rose Lake Capital Partners. I'm just saying. Now, I have no proof. I just find it super suspicious that this guy comes out of nowhere and builds a business that grows 3,500% in 2 years' time. It offers, quote, expertise in several facets of business, including structuring legislation. The Congresswoman cried disinformation in February when she was asked about online speculation that she was actually a secret millionaire. Don't call her a millionaire. Oh no, I guess that's just the husband. But in America, we have this rule that unless there's a prenup, basically what's yours is mine. And so 50% of that 30 mil is hers. So she's worth technically $15 million, I guess. Perhaps I misspoke earlier when I said it was to do with regulation. Apparently, just to clear the air and make sure I set the record straight, this company offers its clients, quote, expertise in several facets of business, including structuring legislation. I'm not really sure what that is, only in that if it's a VC firm, you know what a VC firm is, right? Like a VC firm is out there investing in new companies and new technologies that they think are exciting that are going to grow. So this sounds more like a legal, or dare I say lobbying firm. I don't know, but it's awfully weird. Really, really weird. Very alarming details. And I'm not the only one who thinks it's weird. Okay, Mike Benz. You know Mike. He's like the former State Department employee who's like gone rogue, right? Because he calls everybody out. He's terrific. He goes on Joe Rogan a whole lot. Anyway, he writes, either the dumbest people in Congress are smarter than the smartest people on Wall Street, or Wall Street has just gotten more clever about money laundering methods for their lackeys in Congress. You be the judge. To which I'm writing here, this transformation from negative 45K in 2019 to now $30 million makes absolutely no sense unless Mike is right and there's some kind of money laundering operation going on. What do you think? Seriously, what do you think? I mean, remember the other day we were talking about AOC and how she blew past all of those regulatory filing deadlines. There were like 2 of them, and then she finally got her information in, her disclosures in, but she didn't have anything for Riley Boy, the ginger boyfriend that she's going out with, or engaged to, forgive me. He's actually her fiance. And so the fiance isn't reporting anything, even though he benefits from a lot of the things that, you know, she tacks him on as though he's a spouse, but he's not actually having to come forward with any of these disclosures. So at least we get that, right? At least Ilhan's actually married to the guy, and therefore we know what's going on, sort of. But I have more questions. I think somebody ought to be investigating this, because I don't know how you go, again, to Mike Pence's point. And I know a lot of smart people. I've covered the business industry and politics for better than 20 years. That's a hell of a number, right? That just doesn't come out of nowhere. Something fishy seems to be up. And I would look into it if I were the Trump administration. Moving on to something else that needs to be looked into, Chicago. And why is it Chicago's not willing to do what it needs to do in order to clean up those streets? I mean, for goodness sakes, if you listen to Mayor Johnson, Brandon Johnson, out there with his rallying call over the weekend, you'd think he's trying to head towards, some kind of serious, major, significant conflict. I mean, you listen to this and you tell me, what is he trying to gin up? I don't like it.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution.
I mean, woo, what is he trying to say? Like, I need you with me. We're going to stand firm. For goodness sakes, we're certainly not going to welcome any more police help. What do we want with police? Who needs to clean up this city? South side of Chicago, I beg to differ. You know what? It's not a safe place. It's just absolutely not a safe place. And yet this idiot's out there upping the ante every chance he gets.
Still, we take these threats seriously, and we find ourselves in a position where we must take immediate, drastic action to protect our people from federal overreach. I'm signing an executive order today that will launch the Protecting Chicago Initiative. This is a project that builds on the months of preparation that we have done, that has led up to this very moment. Protecting Chicago will ensure that every Chicagoan knows their rights, that every single family is prepared, and every part of city government is directed to protect the people of Chicago from federal action.
You are really scared that you might actually get some help, because maybe that'll make it obvious that you could have done it all along, but you just chose not to for whatever reason. Look, I will say this, the Democrats just don't get it. And this is becoming increasingly apparent, even, dare I say, in the mainstream media. I mean, when CNN's calling you out, when MSNBC's Morning Joe is calling you out, Chicago, you got a problem. I want to show you this alderman who went on TV on CNN over the weekend. And frankly, I'm like embarrassed for him. He couldn't answer this simple question, and it is embarrassing. Look, Chicago had a horrible weekend. There were more deaths on the streets of Chicago once again, because this is a terrible, terrible city that doesn't do enough to police itself. It's out of control. Let's just admit it. Okay, guys? Like, we don't have to have egos about it. Let's clean it up, shall we? Anyway, this guy's asked about it, and listen to his response.
How do you respond to the argument that there were something like 50 plus shootings 52 people, I should say, were shot in Chicago, 30 different shootings over the holiday weekend, 7 people killed. Aren't numbers like that still a problem that your city needs to address? What more can be done to address that?
Well, I think that what we need to do is we also had a mass shooting in a Catholic school. We also have had many instances where the administration.
Okay, so already, right away, what do we see? He's going out to Minneapolis because he wants to deflect from what his own challenges are there. The question was about Chicago, buddy boy. You are in Chicago. You are a Democrat up in Chicago. Answer the question.
Has really escalated, exacerbated the violence in our country, in our cities. Trump is a dictator. I think we got to be very clear. He's trying to normalize violence.
And then we go to Trump is a dictator. Let's be very clear. Believe my words. Believe my words. I said it. And I'm going to keep saying it over and over and over again until you people finally believe it. Oh, except you see, America elected him twice. Well, that we know of, right? I mean, and not to mention, we're talking popular vote. We're talking the Electoral College. And I guarantee you, if the election were held again today, they'd elect him again. Okay, buddy boy? So listen up. It's not a dictator. He's offering you help in Chicago. Sometimes part of being able to help oneself is knowing when to take help from others.
He's trying to normalize military deployment in American cities like LA, DC, Chicago, and many others to come. But what we have not seen is really a systemic investment that will actually address the core issues. I had shootings in my ward. One of them was a tragic shooting of an unhoused neighbor. So the Trump administration is saying that they're going to address the issue of unhoused residents by putting them in jails, in concentration camps.
Concentration camps? I mean, it's beyond irresponsible, and it kind of annoys me that this CNN guy just sits there like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to listen to it. Whatever. Let this guy have his moment in the sun, but he's an idiot. He doesn't belong on TV. It's irresponsible to put him on TV, and it's more irresponsible not to correct him when he's using rhetoric that, frankly, is divisive, destructive, and wrong. I mean, even Morning Joe is coming around to recognizing that Chicago has a problem. And by the way, the Democrats have a problem. If you're going to sit there and look at us and tell us, oh, there's no crime issue in DC. Oh, there's no crime issue in Chicago. Oh, there's no crime issue in LA. Oh, there's no crime issue anywhere that there is a Democrat mayor, then we're going to be able to see through that. And the Democrats are going to be backed into a corner. It's actually brilliant politics. They're going to be backed into a corner where they are stuck saying, oh, there's no problem here. And people are like, wait a second, I'm afraid to go out on the street. I'm afraid of carjackings. I'm afraid of, I'm afraid for my own personal safety. That's the reality of living on the south side of Chicago right about now. Listen to Morning Joe. Even they are like, enough. Enough is enough is enough.
Concern is you have leaders in Chicago that see this, as you say, we've been reading about this for years now. Every weekend, and maybe crime has gone down. But, we had the mayor of Chicago on last week saying, oh, we don't need any more police officers. Police officers aren't the answer. No police officers. I think he said no 5 times. You look what's happening this weekend. You look so, I actually think that J.B. Pritzker should do something radical. I think he should pick up the phone, call the president, and say, and I know, you don't have the constitutional authority to deploy the National Guard here and to police my. You can do that in D.C., you can't do that in Chicago. But let's partner up. These are the most dangerous parts of my state. We would love to figure out how to have a partnership that's constitutional, that respects the sort of balance of federalism between the federal government and the state government. And let's work together to save lives. Because right now, just hey, nothing to see here moving along. No problem here. Hey, Donald Trump, we don't need you. And, the mayor talking about we're going to protect people's dignity in our city. Well, protect their lives. That's protecting their dignity. It would be radical for us to figure out a way to actually do what I've been saying from the very beginning on Washington, and that is seeing politicians creating partnerships that protect their people.
Yeah. But, that would actually be admitting that you can't do it on your own. And for whatever reason, these guys just don't want to admit that they can't do it on their own. But I'll tell you, it's going to reach a breaking point. I mean, already citizens are saying over and over again, hey, Mayor Johnson, we need help. Do something. Bring Trump here.
You
Watch.
all stood up there and said, you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaigned and doubled down that you would not raise property taxes.
I won't raise your property taxes.
You wanted to raise our taxes $300 million. They shut it down. Now we back here for $150 million. Okay. See, this is what we asking now. Since you want to crash out, some of y'all say y'all willing to go to jail for it. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example of this right here first. Please come here first. Spend our tax dollars to go. Michael Rodriguez, you said to take Trump to court to protect these illegals. That's cool because we about to make all of y'all aldermen famous. Y'all think this is how it's gonna ride? I think not. Flip Chicago red. We not playing.
This was going to happen to you. You got Kash Patel and Pam Bundy that you're going to have to deal with sooner than later. Then it's going to be an audit. Next, it's going to be an investigation. Then it's going to be an indictment. Conviction. That's what's going to happen to you.
Mr. Brandon Johnson, I'm up here. I am speaking right now, so I would love your undivided attention, please. I'll wait. So this just proves to you the lack of leadership that you show in this city. You can't even give me straight eye contact. Now, I'm going to let you know now, the people of Chicago, we're done with you. It is insane how we have been voting Democrat for over 60 plus years, and we've never seen a change from people like you, Lori Lightfoot, Robbie Emanuel. It is insane. Chicago was 37% red. In 2020, it was only 15%. So we're waking up. So you can pretend that this isn't happening, but I know for a fact that you will not have that seat the next election.
You so strong about protecting those aliens, but you won't do nothing for the U.S. citizens.
You see, that's a common theme that you're hearing there in the streets of Chicago. In fact, we saw this with a woman that was interviewed just recently. This was actually on my Shorts feed, saying, what the heck? Why is everybody getting all this stuff? But, the people of Chicago are getting nothing. She nails it.
I'm a person that lives on the south side of Chicago, and the migrants that have come in, at one point they were coming in, we were feeling very sorry for them because they came in at a time where the weather was cold. So we're seeing all these people in tents and all this and that. But then we find out that they're getting $15,000 in food stamps, $5,000 in cash. I work for a company, which I will not say, that they're able to come in and they're able to get internet and Wi-Fi and all of this for free because guess what? The government are paying their rent for 2 years. Why is the government paying people that came from another country rent for 2 years? Can we explain that?
Bingo. No, you can't explain it. You can't explain it. Oh, other than, well, I think if we're really going to try and explain it, guys, I think we're going to get back to, what was that? Oh, that little thing called gerrymandering. This is their own version of it, a different kind of thing. Maybe it's a census thing. The more people you have, the more you can have representation. Was that what it's about? We don't really know. But I want to get to this other story in a second. YouTuber being called out by the New York Times. We're going to get there because Benny didn't deserve this, but we're going to talk about it in a second. First, remember who this is, this guy, Johnson, because Mayor Johnson believes in hiring, apparently, only people that look like him. For real.
Some detractors that will push back on me and say, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet. I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member, right? That's just how we are. And so Business and Economic Neighborhood Development, the deputy mayor, is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure deputy mayor is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man. Budget Director is a black woman. Senior Advisor is a black man. And I'm laying that out because when you ask, how do we ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business?
So you're more obsessed with DEI stuff, right? Than actually being obsessed with stuff that really does matter. And I'll tell you, the DEI stuff, it's getting kind of old. You know how I know it's getting kind of old? Well, for one thing, it's been ruled to be unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Just ask Harvard. You also have a situation where ABC News and Disney happen to be trying to figure out how they're going to manage all of this. But then you also have this going on. You see, apparently, Joy Reid, I know you guys hate to watch her, but she doesn't get that actually this is not a good thing. Okay, so Joy Reid came out and said recently, yes, I'm DEI. I'm so proud of it. I wouldn't have the jobs or the education I have if it wasn't for DEI. I mean, this is not something to be proud of, Joy. No.
As many times as I have been called DEI or an affirmative action baby and all that, you know what I never get? Mad. Because I actually am very much in favor of DEI. I don't take that as an insult because I understand that that means that I'm just damn excellent and innovative. And yeah, I am DEI. I'm bringing diversity, and that's bringing something great. You're not insulting me. If you say, oh, you're an affirmative action person that got into Harvard, I'm like, yeah, I got into Harvard with affirmative action, and Yale, and Brown, and also, Vassar, and the University of Denver.
Yeah, and wouldn't you prefer to be able to get there, like on your own 2 feet? Wouldn't you actually think it would be more of an accomplishment if you were able to do that all on your own, Joy Baby? I mean, instead of having to be a DEI card, I don't think that's the solution. I don't think that's the way there. But, this is the same lady who thinks that she used to work at Sesame Street, which I got to tell you, she was probably right on when she referred to MSNBC being just such a wonderful, wonderful place because it was like Sesame Street. And I was like, for once, she may have actually gotten it right. So when you look at, say, what's happening in Chicago right now and this focus that feels very antiquated on things like DEI that we're trying to get away from, instead, we just want reality, right? We just want a chance for Americans to succeed in their own right, on their own merit. It doesn't need to be just because you check a few boxes. No. Like, those days are gone and over. And as I said, they're quite antiquated at this point, except for people like Joy Reid and perhaps the mayor of Chicago, who's trying to bring this all back. But, the mayor of Chicago, as you heard from his own residents, he's going to actually find himself out on the floor. I mean, I don't think he's going to be able to continue because, when Morning Joe, it's not like we're talking about a conservative here, asks you 5 different times, hey, would you be willing to take a little extra funding to have some more police? And this is your answer. It's game over.
So let me ask you, Mr. Mayor, those all sound like great programs. I'm curious, would you also like to get federal funding to help put 5,000 more cops on the street in Chicago? Would that help drive down crime?
Well, look, policing by itself is not the full strategy.
No, I understand that. You've talked about the other things you want, and I said those are good and important programs, but I'm asking also, would 5,000 more police officers on the street in Chicago be helpful to go along with all of those social programs that a lot of cities are engaging in and having success with?
Well, look, here's the best way I can put it, Joe, is that in the 90s when I was in high school, we had 3,000 more police officers and we had 900 people being murdered every single year in Chicago. It's just not policing alone. Of course, we want more detectives.
I know it's not policing alone, but I know it's not policing alone. You've told me everything else you want. I'm curious, and this does come down to an ideological difference between people. Do you believe that the streets of Chicago would be safer if there were more uniformed police officers on the streets of Chicago?
I believe the city of Chicago and cities across America would be safer if we actually had, affordable housing. Look,
okay,
I'm not saying that
that's not the question I asked. My question is, and I just need a yes or a no, do you believe the streets of Chicago would be safer if you got all of those other extraordinary programs put back into place, which do have a history of being successful, if that's complemented by having 5,000 more cops on the streets of Chicago?
I don't believe that we should narrow it down to just police officers, Joe, is what I'm saying. That is an antiquated approach. I'm saying we've invested in detectives.
Mr. Mayor, are you hearing what I'm saying? I'm agreeing with you that all of these other social programs are extraordinarily important. I just need a yes or a no, and then this will be the last time I ask. If you get all of those other social programs that 800 million that New York City does, Los Angeles, other people do with great success, would an additional 5,000 cops on the streets in Chicago help complement those programs to make Chicago safer?
Look, we are working hard to make sure that our police department is fully supported. I don't believe that just simply putting out an arbitrary number around police officers is the answer. What I'm saying is policing and affordable housing. It's policing and mental and behavioral health care services. It's policing and youth employment. It's a full package. Of course, we want to make sure that our police department is fully supported. That's why I've invested in our Detectives Bureau, because what we have seen in the city of Chicago, when we solve crime, it acts and serves as a deterrent. It's policing and all of the other efforts that we're doing. Here's the last thing that I'll say to that. The federal government could work stronger to coordinate with my police department to get guns off the streets of Chicago. We've seen these coordination efforts work. Just a couple of weeks ago, the ATF working with my police department, we removed over 150 guns off the streets of Chicago that were trafficked in through Mississippi and Indiana. No one is saying that police officers don't play an incredible role in driving safety. They play an absolute pivotal role in that. But we have asked law enforcement to do too much. Police officers are being asked to be social workers, counselors. What I'm simply saying is, if we're going to build safe and affordable cities across America, the one thing that safe communities all have in common, they invest in people. We have a poverty issue in the city of Chicago and cities across America. Police officers alone will not put food on the table. Police officers alone will not guarantee a high quality education. Police officers alone won't drive down unemployment. We need all of it. The President of the United States of America and the federal government could restore Medicaid. They could restore SNAP. They could stop defunding our public education system. Here's the most important point here.
Oh my God, I can't take it anymore. I'm sorry, guys. You know what? My patience is running thin with him. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. The president is offering federal funds to help police the streets of Chicago. Your people want it. Your people need it. Mayor Johnson, get away from the DEI stuff. Enough with it. You've been listening to Joy Reid too much. And I'm sorry, but there's a reason she's not at MSNBC anymore. And it's because the woman actually wasn't that bright, couldn't think for herself, and actually prides herself on being a DEI pick and having worked at the equivalent of Sesame Street. No joke. Watch. Description of MSNBC ever
was not just a channel for a lot of people. It was a lifeline in a world in which every other network was either on the one hand, on the other hand, or right wing. MSNBC was like a respite for people. People believed that every single person on MSNBC was their personal friend. We were their friend in their head. We were the good liberal friend who they could talk with. We were a diverse, interesting crew. We had all kinds of people. We had gay folks, straight folks, men, women, blacks, Latinos, Asians. We had all these different people. So we were relatable, right? We were like Sesame Street to people.
Sesame Street. Yeah, exactly. That's part of the problem, honey. Really, it is. I mean, so you have a group of people that are so stuck in a particular mindset, whether it be the Joy Reids of the world, whether it be the Brandon Johnsons of the world, whether it be, frankly, the Michelle Wu's out in Boston or Karen out in LA. I mean, you guys got to recognize what's actually going on. And you would think you'd want to keep your community safe. You'd think, but that might mean admitting that you couldn't do it on your own. God forbid that happen. I want to talk a little bit about what's going down with Benny, our friend Benny Johnson. Did you guys see this one? New York Times, after his family, he is threatening to sue the New York Times. We're going to get into this story, but first, reminder, subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. And a quick thank you to one of our sponsors. If you've ever flipped over the back of a supplement bottle and not been able to read the ingredients on the back, you know what, you're not alone. You might be thinking, what are these ingredients? And I got to say, like, if I can't pronounce it, I really don't want to be ingesting it. Thank you very much, which is one of the reasons why I like and use Balance in Nature. Every single ingredient in their fruits and veggie supplements is exactly what it sounds like. Whole fruits, whole vegetables, no binders, no fillers, no artificial colors, just real whole food, gluten-free, vegan-friendly, picked at peak ripeness. They are taking 31 different fruits and veggies. They're harvesting these. They gently vacuum, cold dry them into a fine powder in order to lock in that nutrition. So it's sort of like in a huge platter of produce, if you would, every single day. You don't have to go to the grocery store, you don't have to do all the shopping, and there you go. So right now you can get a special offer. We love our friends over at Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com, use my discount code TRISH, TRISH. You're going to get 35% off plus a free bottle of fiber and spice, and that's on top of the free shipping. So go to balanceofnature.com, use my discount code TRISH, and take control of your nutrition naturally. All right, what's going on with our friend Benny here? Benny Johnson in the hot seat with the New York Times, or should I say the New York Times is now in the hot seat with one Benny Johnson because he's threatening a libel suit against the newspaper, the Gray Lady, getting called out by a YouTuber. Benny, I know his producer very well. I've known him for many years. Benny's been on the show a bunch. Benny has really just taken the world by storm on YouTube. All right, let me just I look at his numbers and I'm like, man, we're still fighting to get to 1 million over here on the Trish Regan Show, but I know that you guys are going to help me do it. Anyway, Benny has been uber successful, and I think that might scare the living daylights out of the New York Times. I don't know, because I'm looking at this and I'm like, why would they bother going after a YouTuber? Like, really and truly, why are they after Benny Johnson? Somebody at the New York Times has it out for him. So they printed this article. He plagiarized. He promoted falsehoods. The White House embraces him. Well, maybe this way you get, two birds for one stone. You can go after the White House and Donald Trump for talking to him and embracing him and giving him access. How dare he have access, right? Nobody's allowed to have access except New York Times, Washington Post, NBC News, anybody who's like grandfathered in. The rest of us are YouTubers. No, we're not supposed to have any access, I guess. Anyway, he's not able to overcome his past as far as the New York Times is concerned, and they're taking direct aim at him. And it's a little strange to see, I just got to say, because again, over here in YouTube land, we're kind of separate from the New York Times, the Washington Post, and we tend to poke a little fun at them. But when do they poke fun at us? Maybe it's because suddenly someone like Benny is resonating. I think that's kind of what it has to do with. They go through a whole bunch of stuff, okay? It's a total hit job. They talk about how he got fired from other jobs, allegedly for plagiarizing, not even allegedly. I think he apologized in one particular case. But, apparently you can't escape your past. He's just blown up, right, on YouTube. And at issue in this particular story is apparently whether or not his home burned in a fire. And they're trying to say, he was talking about it recently because he knows what people are up against in the streets of DC because he used to live in the area and it was ridden with crime and he had his home burnt and this, that, and the other. And I guess his family was in there. And the New York Times tried to say, no, that wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. And he's like, hey guys, what are you talking about? What are you talking? So he posted this. Let me share with you guys. He posted this right here on, on Twitter. He's got a huge Twitter following. And he said, the New York Times just wrote a hit piece targeting my wife and children. The angle was that there was no proof that my newborn child was in any danger when I was posting about the fire. And yet he said, look, I've got the security footage and the video all right here. And then he proceeds to share it. I'm going to show some of this to you guys. You can see one of the pictures of the footage. He goes on to say, quite a lengthy statement. If you watch the security cameras, what you see is the DC police officers using a crowbar to rip open my door as my neighbors scream, "There is a baby inside." I think this had a big sort of hand in Benny deciding he wanted to live in Florida because, the security issues, raising a family in DC are tough, which is what he was trying to talk about. There's a baby inside, they were saying. Moments later, he said, "My terrified wife runs out of the home with our newborn baby in her arms. We lived in a row house, and on the house next to us, it was a total loss." All right, both their dogs were burned in the arson. Our home was rendered completely uninhabitable due to the damage from the fire. We had to live in a hotel for a month afterwards. This was the worst day of my life. I almost lost everything. I moved my family to Florida swiftly afterwards. Now, in spite of all this hard evidence and the police reports, the New York Times still does not think my wife or my newborn baby were in any kind of danger that day. And, he's saying this is a kind of dehumanizing propaganda that actually gets people killed from the celebration of the, and then he goes into, what happened with Trump in Butler County, et cetera. Look, I think, he says you should judge a man by his enemies. I'm proud to have the New York Times work so hard on a hit piece about me. It's a badge of honor and a rite of passage in this industry. But leave my children and wife out of it. And you know what? He's right on that. Like, that is uncalled for. I myself have been the victim of these hit pieces in various publications. And it just kind of goes with the territory. But when they start coming after your family, that's when you're kind of crossing a point of no return. And it shows you that they really must be threatened by him like this. So let me share with you. He wound up putting out a video on this. Can we see this? I think we can. It's a good looking thumbnail, man. Hey, Benny, credit to your team on the thumbnail. Again, I know one of his producers has been a longtime friend. By the way, has a great Twitter account himself, ALX. You should go check that out. But let me see if I can share with you a little clip from Benny explaining this. I think it's just a terrible thing. It is perhaps a badge of honor, but who the heck wants that, right? You don't need that. You don't want that. I would say that for whatever reason, the New York Times must believe us YouTubers are somehow a threat. So now they're trying to take him down. I've been watching his sub growth count because, this is what we do. I'm trying to get to 1 million. I mean, Benny's well over 5. I'm looking at his account going, wow. I mean, he's exploded, and I wish him all the well because he works hard for it, clearly. I mean, the content is nonstop. But here he is explaining this. Let's just take a listen.
I had a newborn child at the time when there was a spate of horrible gang violence on my block leading to an arson in the home that shared a wall with me. It's called a row house. This is the style of house that is very prominent in Washington, D.C. And as you can see right here in this photograph and in this video that I will show you, all of the direct evidence of what happened, the home that is next to mine. That's my home. That's my child's nursery right there. Right there. That white building, that's my home. This building right here, that is the house that was set ablaze. Now, horrifyingly, 2 of their dogs were killed in this fire. It was a deadly fire. It was a huge emergency. My house was rendered unlivable.
That's partly why he moved then to Florida. But what's nuts is that the New York Times somehow wants to begrudge him this. I mean, of all things to go after, they start saying that a separate report from Washington's fire department described a fire that was intentionally set the morning after the shooting, but in the neighboring house, not Mr. Johnson's. The fire department was able to put out the fire after 20 minutes. 2 dogs died, they did admit, and security footage viewed by the Times shows Mr. Johnson's wife and child being escorted out of the house, but no people were injured. Okay, so they're going to pick a fight over whether or not they were injured? I'm sorry, it's a row house, there's a fire in one, and yours catches fire, and your baby and your wife are having to come out. That's a pretty scary situation. And they're slamming him for saying he felt like he was escaping communism, and so he moved to Tampa, Florida, and somehow the New York Times sees this as, oh my gosh, he's making it up. I'm sorry, guys. Like, you're stooping to new kinds of lows. I mean, we know the Times is lousy. We know what they're capable of. We know that this is their song and dance, and this is what they're going to continue to do. But it shows you how badly they must be threatened by one Benny Johnson. If they're pulling this, I mean, Benny, for goodness sakes, he got to go to the White House the other day and be in that, chair where they have the alternative journalist, the new media chair. A whole bunch of people have gone there. It's not that big a deal, but the New York Times is like, oh my God, a new journalist, a YouTuber. He's here. We got to take him down. And they come out with this. I mean, what a bunch of sourpusses. Listen, they had their time. Their day in the sun is over. We've exposed all their bias. We know what their bias is. They're going to need to actually shape up. And they're going to need to reinvent. And they're going to need to do things like be on YouTube themselves, okay? And maybe have some people with some pizzazz and personality like Benny's got on YouTube. Because if you're going to hold an audience, you can't be robotic like they are at the New York Times. You can't look like most of the people look at the New York Times, not to be petty or anything, but you know what? They're print reporters. Hey, we're going to have to put some makeup. We're going to have to actually liven things up, right? We're going to have to make this exciting. This is a new medium, and I'm excited about it. I love it. Benny clearly is killing it, and now the New York Times is threatened. So they do this huge hit piece, but as he said, he's taking them on. He's taking them on, and he's going to sue them. He's going to sue him for libel. And you know what I think? I think he's got a real shot at succeeding here because they are deliberately trying to take him down and they're bringing in the wife and kids, and it's not right. It's really and truly, it's just not right. But I was struck by it because I'm like, wow, like, are they that threatened by us? And I think they are. In the old days, they were threatened by Fox. Now they're threatened by us. They're threatened by YouTube. And I think it's worth remembering. It's worth thinking about. It's all the more reason to make sure you subscribe to me and share. I mean, they're talking about, how he cranks out all this content. I'm looking at it and going, gee, is that what happens to me? Like once I get to 1 million, once I get to 5 million, the legacy media hates what we represent. They hate that I can get on here without a teleprompter, without a middle manager saying, here, you can say this, you can't say that. Without a whole team of 40 people around me to make sure that, we check all the boxes. And then I can just go. And then I can just talk to you and that you can respond and that we can actually have a very sort of innovative new kind of relationship in this new world. And I'll tell you, it's only going to get better and better and better, guys. Because at some point, we're going to be able to fly you in. You're going to be able to talk. And, I'm looking at your comments right now. Thank you, Clementine, for the compliment. I realize some of you, we got people who aren't Benny fans. We got people who are Benny fans. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you like Benny or you hate Benny. I'm just saying that's unnecessary. But it speaks volumes about where we are in this world right now. They did a nice little puff piece on the woman who's going to take over for Anna Wintour at Vogue. She's going to be the new editorial director. They made a whole thing about how they're calling it an editorial director now instead of the editor, because as editorial director, you have to be thinking about all these new things. Who would have thought that, Vogue might actually have to be online and in video? Who would have thought that the New York Times would need to have something like a streaming arm or a YouTube? I mean, look, the world's their oyster, honestly. Like if you think about it, think about their access to content, right? And they have all those reporters, like you could go hog wild, but you got to actually be willing to live a little on the edge and have a little personality and have a little bit of opinion and viewpoint. I mean, for goodness sakes, you guys do have opinion. What am I saying? You got opinion in spades. It's called TDS. You got more than opinion. You got an actual case of TDS. Okay, so lean into it. Own it. Admit it. Don't sit there and tell us that you're not biased. Don't sit there and tell us that you're fair because you're not. I mean, Benny, what you see is what you get, okay? Like it's all out there. Same here with Trish Regan. You know my biases. And actually, I'm different than Benny. And, Benny leans in, he may have, I may even be, dare I say, more middle of the road than Benny, right? Whatever. But at least you know where I am. At least you know where he is. Where the heck is the New York Times? Oh, we know where they are, except they pretend they're not. And over here in YouTube land, you know what? We don't pretend. There's no point. It's a waste of time. We're actually real. And transparency and authenticity, that's actually what rules the day. It's the reason why President Trump got elected. It's the reason why we can go direct to the people. And I love it. I love every single last bit of it. I am so excited to be here and to be able to do this show all on my own, without all the middle management, without all the layers, without having to have 20 people around me at all times, without having to have someone even, you know what? I do my own hair and makeup even. Imagine that. You know what? It's on me, but I like it that way. We keep a small team because we are doing something that's very different, and it's for you. It's for me too. I mean, my family jokes. They're like, you know, when mom gets old, like really old, we're just going to send her up to the studio and we're going to pretend. We're going to say, hey, mom, camera's on, go for it, because it's going to keep her young forever. Because she likes it so much. Well, it's true. I do like it. I do like it. And most of all, I like this medium. I like having a direct relationship and contact with all of you. So thank you so much for being here. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe, share, like, make a comment, help me with this algorithm, because I want to get to 1 million and we're going to have a big party. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait for that day. A big party when Trish Regan hits 1 million subs. Give me some ideas. Like, what should we do? What should we do? I know we're talking about singing, because you know I sing. I was an opera singer in another life. For real, for real. That's why I speak so many languages. Puccini was my favorite composer. I'd say Mozart's a close second, but primarily I like singing in Italiano because vowel to vowel is the best way to go. Anyway, I digress. But I'm thinking about what we do. I think we have to plan something kind of special. Thank you for all you do, and I will see you here again live on the Trish Regan Show tomorrow.